Let's get into the Wednesday Wrangle with Liz Storer, co-host of The Late Debate. Good to see you, Liz.
Good
and
to be
Justin
here.
Smith, columnist and author, joining us in Melbourne. Let's start with you, Justin, in Melbourne. Apparently, Victorian schools are going to indoctrinate little kiddies about the voice, a pro-voice version of reality.
Yeah. I can't say I've seen any evidence of indoctrination just yet, but wouldn't you hope, though, that this is being discussed in schools? I wouldn't like to see anyone being brainwashed. I wouldn't like to see anything one-sided. But if they're not talking about the voice and the Uluru Statement in schools at the moment, I think we're a little bit lost. I think the biggest problem with the voice is still something that we've talked about before, is we haven't seen enough detail on this thing. So when there's no detail, there's a void that comes up, and inside that void gets filled up with a whole load of crap. And unfortunately, it feels like we're still getting filled up with a load of crap. If we can get some more detail to people, and people understand it a bit more, isn't it going to be a better thing?
Gee, I hate it when I agree with Justin. Yeah, of course schools are going to talk about the voice. I know that they are. The point is people want to make sure they get a balanced presentation. No one has any confidence about that in our public school system.
And neither should they. They have no reason to have that confidence. What we're hearing from these leaders, this is state propaganda. Plenty of parents send their kids to school not banking on this kind of education. No one's saying to deny history. But what strikes me as quite over the top about this is they can't vote, okay?
Yeah.
So the idea of filling them in on the voice, or what little there is to tell them about it, what's the end goal here? Why are you telling little kids who certainly had nothing to do with any of the atrocities that took place,
called education?
Why do you want to have this even playing around in their little minds?
They've got it, because kids are learning about history and these issues, and this is the modern incarnation.
But also,
my 11-year-old did ask me this morning who gets to vote in the referendum. I said, mate, don't worry, you won't. You know, you have to be 18.
It's a load off his shoulders, I'm sure. But also, what this has told us, point blank, from the Premier, is this is part of the road to treaty. So it just goes to show, as we've long suspected, this doesn't end with the voice. It is a waste of time trying to make the left happy. There will always be something next.
There's always going to be something. But the point is...
Teaching kids is not a waste of time.
It's not a waste of time. Tell us, let's broaden it out then.
That's what I said, Justin. I said teaching kids is a waste of time. Come off it.
Tell me about this, broaden about you get more into the debate about the voice. There's this argy-bargy about the yes versus the no case. Of course, they're going to put out a pamphlet with the yes and no cases. Interestingly, the 1967 referendum that gave the federal government power to make laws for Indigenous people only had a yes case. There was no no case. But there will be this time. What's the no case going to be here? That it's going to divide the nation, create apartheid in Australia?
It will divide the nation.
How so? It's such an implausible...
anti-discrimination laws that no one, due to the colour of their skin, is supposed to have any preferential treatment.
There's no preferential treatment. It's a representative body for Indigenous people.
Well, I'd like to see a representative body for all the migrants who came over here, did the hard yakkers and actually built this country.
But why?
So that we can enjoy modern Australia. Where is their representative body? Where's the representative body for... No, because this is... This is identity politics. This is the very thing you speak against most of the time, Chris.
This is decades and decades of attempts at reconciliation and recognition in the Constitution, and this is what the suggested resolution is.
We know that it's not going to end in resolution. The next step is treaty. And as much as they tell us all these wonderful outcomes that will come of the voice, they can't give us a single explanation as to how they will come about.
The bizarre thing, Justin, is that in your state and in South Australia, they're going to go ahead with other voices anyway, which, from what I've seen of them, are going to be a lot more complicated and problematic than anything that's been proposed out of Canberra.
Yeah, again, let's have a look at the detail. But look, I just want to come back to something Liz said there, talking about, you know, words she said, and Liz, you can fix me up if I'm misquoting you here, but you're talking about the immigrants of this country actually building this country. When you talk like that, it is no wonder
Justin.
that Indigenous people feel the way that they do. it is no wonder that Indigenous people feel the way they do when you put them down like that.
That's not a put down. That is not a put down.
I simply said if we're going to start having voices to Parliament, this is identity politics. It's what we rail against every other day of the year. That only people who are white can represent whites. That only people who are poor can represent poor people.
You do realise, of course, there are multicultural advisory boards to all governments. Every government in the country has some sort of multicultural advisory board, if not a stack of them.
And
so you want to get rid of those as well?
Well, then we should have quotas in Parliament from every single race. How many Chinese Aussies are there? Well, we better give them this many seats in Parliament, and so on and so forth. Where does it end? If you play into this...
We'll keep coming back to this. I love this debate, although I think it's way off the rails. But